Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining another episode of the Educational Leadership Podcast. We have another very special guest. Before we introduce our guest, we do want to give one shout out to our sponsor, Ideal Impact. Ideal Impact's giving away hundreds of millions of dollars to public education in the form of a free gift, unrestricted funds. So if your district needs additional funding, reach out to Ideal Impact. Okay, today we have a board member on the Educational Leadership Podcast. We have Trustee Owens from Hutto ISD. Thank you for joining us.
Well, actually, I would like to say master trustee because I'm a
Okay.
graduate of the best class of 2018 of Leadership TASB.
Nice, nice. I love it. Well, great. So just for our listeners, could you share a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so I've been a resident of Hutto for 25 years. I am a licensed physical therapy assistant, home health. I'm a private contractor. So I get a blessing of serving the Hutto area, our seniors, and born and raised in East Texas in Lufkin. And so started my path down the road of servant leadership back in 2015 by serving with a nonprofit teen organization that focused on teen suicide prevention. The motto was be kind, be honest, and speak up. And so as that has gone through, I have had opportunities to serve as on the Williamson County Health District Board of Directors. I currently sit on the EDC, Economic Development Corporation for the City of Hutto, and chairperson for the Texas Energy Cooperative.
Wow, very, very cool. And there's a lot going on in public education right now. Obviously, what's on your radar screen these days? It's always an interesting question. It changes every
Yeah,
month, it
well,
seems
I
like.
think there's a couple of things. Locally, we are a fast growth district. We currently have our eighth elementary school being built that'll be open in the fall. We will break ground on our second high school, full build out, and in design for our ninth elementary school, and in the process of securing land. So for Hutto, it's about the growth that we're dealing with from a county level, um, developing and fostering relationships with some of the industries that are coming into town, so our kids have opportunities past graduation, and then, and of course, from a state level, advocating for public funds and making sure that we are getting the necessary funds that we deserve, since we haven't had any increase in our ADA since 2019.
Got it. And what does that look like, trying to get funds? I mean, what is that
Well, it's
yeah.
it's it's my advocacy is about educating our community. We are sending back 600, around close to $700,000 back to the state from the Robin Hood. And I just really don't think communities understand that your tax dollars are going back to the state. When we have so many districts who are running deficits, so many districts closing schools, that just educating them and letting them know that we provide an education. We provide education for all kids. Does not matter who, what you are, what disabilities, what things you bring. We cannot turn kids away. And so to do that, we have to fund our schools, and also reminding the community about unfunded mandates. In Hutto ISD, when the safety and security legislation came down, we got $15,000 per campus. We spent over $1.6 million hiring salaries, vehicles, equipment to make sure we met that mandate, and it was unfunded. And so, just really just educating the community on those things that makes it a challenge.
Very good, very good. And so what's the vision for the district, right? So there's a lot going on in Texas, and Texas is, I think, is unique compared to a lot of other states. As far as the vision, I mean, what's kind of on the horizon coming up?
Well, I think for us in Hutto, it's been the data, moving the numbers forward. We spent a lot of time putting together a strategy plan, and every board meeting is based on what goals we have. and it's all based on data. And so for Hutto ISD, it's about making sure that the meets, the exceeds, and those type of things are being met. And everything that we do is based on how is it affecting HR, how is it affecting the finances, how it is affecting the data. And so we have a wonderful new superintendent in Jenny Netherland, who has been here less than 6 months. But as a board, that's what she's been charged with, is making sure that the numbers are moving in the direction that we want.
Yeah, so the data, is that like test scores, or what data are you
Yeah,
like?
it's test scores. It's all about the numbers. Whether it's eco disadvantaged kids, this in the state mandates us to look at the different demographics. And so we are really focused on special education, African American, eco disadvantaged, Hispanic, Asian, white, all that information. And so what I focus on is where are the gaps at? And are we closing the gaps and making sure that each group is moving up in the direction we want to? And the only way that we can figure that out is by the data. And then making sure that we are doing the things to help. And it's really sometimes it's not about money. It's about just resources. It's about just acknowledgement. And for me, as one of 7 board members,
Some, funding comes up on just about all the podcasts. Just that it's a critical need, and then you have some people that have the argument, hey, funding's gone up, but test scores haven't gone up, and they're arguing. Is that what you're seeing, or are you seeing kind of a different situation related to that?
no, yeah, I like I say, it's about the funding for me, really. When we got increased class sizes, when you got schools closing, I think it is about funding, but I also think it is about putting certain unrealistic test goals that goes into what we're seeing with kids. Kids are not numbers. Kids are individuals, and one success here may be different from a success of another kid. And once you're looking at our sub pop groups, it's really just all about closing those gaps. And I'm 55 years old. I come from a generation of segregation. I understand the challenges when it comes to living with a single mom. And so there are so many other variables that we have to deal with that does not show up on a test score and is not going, and it's more about the funding when we have to look at the whole child.
If a district, just hypothetically, let's say they had an unlimited amount of funds, what what would be the best places to put those funds to make the biggest impact?
I think it, and I'll be honest with you, and once again, this is just me speaking. I honestly, based on my experience, I think it would be the money would be spent on the social and well-being of a child. If a child is hungry, if a child is not in a good environment, they're not going to learn. And so if I could spend more money and time in investing in the child, necessarily not in the maybe not in the classroom, but in the classroom, understanding why they're not succeeding. Because a lot of times it has to do with things that are going on outside of the classroom. So that's where I would want to spend the time and effort.
So like
The
food.
days of us going and like I had someone mention that the school district, all they need to focus on is teachers, classrooms, and books. Well, we don't live in that society anymore. We live in a society that is social media, that has to deal with bullying, has to deal with economic stress from a family standpoint, and we are no longer can do that without looking at a whole child. And that really goes back to, like I say, my first love of serving with the sandbox at Madeline Place when we had a student, one of my son's classmates, commit suicide because they spiraled out in 24 hours and felt like that was the only solution.
And
And that's just a reality we live in today.
was that social media driven? Was that what that was?
Yes, it was social media driven. Yes, sir.
So it's kind of interesting with social media, and yeah, I don't even let my kids get on social media.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it seems on the one hand it's a great way to communicate with people, but on the other hand, students are, I mean, what's your recommendation around that? You think students should just not be on there at all, or?
Students shouldn't be on, but honestly, and I've dealt with this personally in the last couple of weeks. Adults, our kids learn from what they see. If I have been personally attacked in the last couple of weeks, I have been bullied by adults, and so when you have adults bullying other adults, giving them nicknames, making veiled threats, then to me that's where the problem begins. It's about what our kids see. And so when you have our kids, imitating what they're hearing at the dining room table. So to me, social media, yes, I think it should not be something that our kids engage. But honestly, from what my experience has been, is they're only doing what they see adults do.
That makes sense. So, students, they show up to the classroom in some cases where they're having difficulty learning because of what's going on at home. They're bullying other kids, based on what they're seeing at home. I mean, is that a change? Is that like a society change that I guess that's happened, you think, over the past?
Yeah, I think it's a society change. I think it's also there needs to be there needs to be a need of awareness. And that's something that I've been actively doing, just bringing out the conversations about adult bullying. I mean, social media has become this toxic place for a simple comment about the sky is blue, and it turns into this negative thing. And I've got a 20-year-old daughter. She sees these things, and my son who's 28. And so purposely have conversations with them about always looking for the good in people, and kind of just getting rid of that noise. But yeah, I think it's awareness that we need to bring to our communities. One thing I love about Hutto, at the end of the day, for me personally, it's the Hippo way. It's the Hippo Nation. It's that hippo that we love on so much that it overrides any negativity that we have in our community. And as a board member, whenever I start to feel down, I go visit an elementary school. I go spend breakfast with kids, and for breakfast with kindergarten kids, with first graders, and the innocence and the naive of that age group reminds me that it is all about what we invest in our kids, whether it's the school district, whether it's the community, or it's parents or whatever. But I see an innocence there, and it always gives me hope.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely inspiring. Yeah, there's something about kids. Yeah, I know before I had kids, people talked about how stressful it was to have kids and all that stuff, but it definitely there's an element of that. I don't know what it is. Kids bring you joy, right? When you have kids,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
so yeah, it is interesting. My kids at least can sometimes be a pain in some areas, but at the same time they bring you joy. It's something that's hard to explain if you've never had
Well, no,
kids.
I totally agree. I mean, I've been with my wife for 35 years, and we were married for about five before we decided to have kids. And even when we decided to have our son, we still weren't prepared. So I totally get.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. Now on the bullying side, like I mean, kids have been bullied forever, right? They've been
Right.
bullied. Has the level of the type of bullying changed, or is it the fact that it's social media and everybody sees it? I mean, or is this it just
I think it's well for our kids. We like I say, we have the Hippo way, and
yeah,
so we really put forth the effort and the time and energy to acknowledge kids who are doing the right thing and leading
yeah.
by example. And I think that's what I'm proud about Hutto ISD. Um, as a board member and someone who doesn't have kids no longer in the district, I don't really necessarily get a lot of those emails, but I know that other board members do.
Hmm.
And so it's always a constant thing that we're having to deal with. But like I say, it's all based on, for me, it's based on the positive aspect of you are a hippo and we have the hippo way and we are a hippo nation and we don't condone, promote, and will not tolerate bullying in our schools.
So kind of leaning into those core values
Yes,
and
sir.
reinforcing those. Now it makes sense. It makes sense. Well, I know we're running short on time. I'm curious, who's been an influence in your life that maybe want to come would want to come on and share their story on the podcast? Anybody
Uh,
you can think of?
Billy Lee Judas, board
O-
president.
Okay.
I think you maybe have done a story on her. Billy Lee Judas, Felix Chavez, who is a
Yep.
board member also. Connie Gooding, who is a former board member, who is my grandmother, and she hates me telling this story, but Connie Gooding, I ran in 2014 for the school board, and I ran against Connie Gooding. She is a retired school teacher. She is the grandmother of Hutto, and I lost by one vote against Connie. Me and my wife voted for her. She voted for me. So it is what it is. But I gained someone who I look up to so much. She has been the biggest influence in my life. So yeah, if I had to have you reach out to a former board member, a community member, an educator, yeah, Connie Gooding would be the person.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. We'll look her up and reach out to her. Um, any last thoughts before we close out the podcast?
Yeah, serve. I just continue to keep doing your podcast, continue to it, because this motivates me. This kind of gets my juices running. Just having this conversation, it just reconfirms me, the steps that my Lord and Savior has ordered me to do. And um, public education is important to the state of Texas. And in the reality of it, there's only been the path that we've been on has been dictated by one party. And I don't want to get political, but if we're complaining about public education, if there's issues with education, conversations need to be had at the Capitol. And who's been running that narrative? And so I think it's important that we educate our community, because I get nasty emails, I get comments just yesterday about us building a stadium that was bond approved, that was voted on, but it's my fault that we have poor outcomes, that we're not funded well. And so it's just about educating the community and redirecting. Like I said, recapture. Round Rock is sending $16 million back. Is a $60 million deficit. Austin ISD is looking at closing schools. They send back over $700 million back to the state, and they're running a deficit. We're all running deficits, but yet we're still having to send money back to the state. So that's what I would say. It's just people. I would wish people would look beyond their local government and look at what's going on at the Capitol.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. And I think you touched on a great point around communication and having those conversations and I imagine it's difficult to do in some scenarios to step across party lines and have conversations, right?
Yeah, and I do that. My representatives, Caroline Harris, James Tellerico used to be our representative, and I had this comment that was made by our superintendent. I'm not going to change certain people's opinion when it comes to funding and vouchers and stuff. That's a mute point. But let me tell you what I need for public education. And so those are the conversations that I meet regularly with Caroline Harris, our representative, Russ Bowles, our county commissioner. I'm my my what can I say? My role and what I bring to the board, and I've said this all the time, and I'll let you go after this. We all bring a certain unique talent. I've got two realtors. I've got two people who have a combination of 12 kids in the school district. I've got an educator. I've got a business owner. I've got a CFO for the Travis County on the board. My gift that I bring to the board is I'm a people person. I will meet, sit, talk with anyone. I don't hold grudges. I don't hold just these hard lines of belief. And so I feel like I know that I can go into spaces and have those uncomfortable conversations. One of my mottos is that I want to build a relationship with people, and I look at it as a bank. I'm going to deposit good faith, goodwill in you because at some point I'm going to have to withdraw something that's uncomfortable. And and I've had to do that over the course of the time. So, yeah.
Makes sense. And well, I just want to thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Before we close out, we do want to give one final shout out to our sponsor, Ideal Impact. Ideal Impact's giving away hundreds of millions of dollars to public education in the form of a free gift. I believe they've exceeded billions of dollars at this point. So if your district needs unrestricted funds, reach out to Ideal Impact. And for those that have been tuning in, stay tuned for future episodes of the Educational Leadership Podcast.